explain again why you posted that video about DEI.
So I've been in the field for probably 3 decades before it was hot, right? And of course, after George Floyd's murder, my phone was ringing off the hook. But I've been doing this for a long time. And, I've become very, honestly, quite disgusted with how I see companies using DE&I more as a PR move. It's more like public relations. Let us be able to say that we have someone in that position, but not give them the ability, the power to really do anything. DE&I is run by the same people that really don't see the problem. And that's the problem.
See, so here's the thing for me with DEI. You create a position, and that's all you create. The
Right.
reality is, in corporate America, if you don't have P&L responsibility, you don't mean a damn thing to the boss. And so that's why I've talked to a lot of black folks who are like, "Lo, I don't want a DEI job. I want an operational job. I want a job where I can actually hire people down the line." You talk to for real, if we want to be honest here, Randy, most DEI people is them and an assistant.
Correct.
Small budget, not significant. And so all of a sudden, whenever there's black people, they send the DEI person. They send the DEI person to the meeting. We've had those meetings with advertisers, and I'll be honest with you, and it's no disrespect to that person, and most of the time they're black. I don't want to talk to the DEI person.
Right.
We trying to get advertising money, and the DEI person got a little throwaway bullshit budget.
Right. You're absolutely right. I mean, they hire these people, provide them with no resources. Oftentimes, the DEI lead is working with volunteers within the organization who have a full-time job, but on their free time is volunteering to make the company more palatable to people who are, black. And so or any underrepresented group. And so they don't have power. They usually don't have money. They don't have really the support, because the problem is, if you look at the majority of companies, they are still run by white males, and white males don't see our issues as their issues. So they're not going to fund it. However, as the world is changing, I believe that they have no choice but to understand that they must change. I mean, the demographics, as we know, are changing. The lawsuits, the money that is paid out each year from discrimination lawsuits is crippling, which is great. I tell people, continue to do that. And DE&I is not just, there's a person who doesn't feel comfortable. What I try to explain to people is that it should be across the entire company. So let's talk about Sesame Place. They're talking about they're going to do some training. Training doesn't change anything. I've made a lot of money going into companies and doing a training. I cannot change a company's culture in 1, 2, or 3 trainings. It has to be where they value having an inclusive, diverse environment, and an inclusive, diverse environment for their customers as well, so much that they're looking at everything. So Sesame Place, for instance, they wouldn't just be looking at training but the person couldn't even get a job without asking certain questions to determine if they are ready to deal with diverse children. Just like they do with customer service, they do personality tests, but it hasn't mattered to them in the first place. It should be looking at the characters. Are the characters representative of this diverse world? They should be looking at the stories they're telling. It should be literally across the entire organization, and it should be tied to every department's bottom line. If a manager is not hiring diverse people, they don't get a bonus that year. If a manager is not getting good scores on inclusion, like if their staff is saying, no, we don't feel included, they don't get a bonus that year. If someone makes a mistake, they call it microaggressions to make these things sound innocent, although they can be very, very, very damaging. they're gone. There should be zero tolerance for this type of discrimination. But right now, they're not taking it seriously.
I think back to when Al Newharth, here we are, NABJ, NAA, Al Newharth was the CEO of Gannett. And he said, we are going to be the leading company for diversity in media. And he said, I am going to attach your bonuses to this issue.
Right.
He said, we're going to elevate Black and Latino general managers, publishers, editors of newspapers. And he said, some of you are not going to like it. You are welcome to leave the company. And there were some people who were pissed off that he tied their bonuses to diversity. And he said, your ass can leave. And there were people who actually left, and he didn't care. That Gannett quickly went to the top in the industry. But here's what it did, Randy. It forced every other company in the industry to go. And I'm talking about Knight Ridder, Cox, all of them. Oh, my God. You know, we got to do something because they were afraid of losing their Black and minority talent. To me, when it comes to DEI, if this thing ain't hardcore from the CEO and from the board, it's not real.
Let me tell you something. You know, Roland, I tell people don't take a DEI job if you're not reporting directly to the CEO. That tells you how serious.
Say it again. There you go. There you go.
Do not take it. You have to report to the CEO. That shows that they take it seriously. And let's be real about it. There are going to be some people who are going to give you pushback. So you have to have the CEO's name behind you. You have to have it for any sort of power to get any change to happen. It's the reason why I've always stayed.
And look,
So go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, it's the reason why I've always stayed as a contractor. It's much easier usually because I don't report to anybody. So I can go in there, help people set up their strategy, act a little bit of a fool, right? Because I'm not worried about, oh my goodness, am I going to get fired? I have a little bit of leeway to help people out and say the things I say.
Well, I'll also say this, Randy, and look, and I'm telling you as someone who's experienced this far too many times. One of the greatest impediments that we have experienced with the Black Star Network as we have been talking to companies about advertising has been the Black DEI person.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily the white executives, because what we have experienced is the black DEI person or the black diversity officer or whatever. Oh, we've done enough for HBCUs, as opposed to doing more. Or, oh, I don't know, Roland is scary. The white folks over there going, yeah, let's roll. But so part of this thing is when we talk about DEI, we got to have Black people who are in these positions who have some damn courage, who are going to say, no, I am using this office, this position to actually drive home this issue. And I think also, if you're interviewing for a DEI job, a friend of mine, she did this. She said, okay, are y'all going to allow me to be responsible? I think she said, make $1 billion commitment, and I get to be the person who decides who gets the money.
Yep.
And the company was like, oh, hell no. She said, well, guess what? Y'all ain't real. Because what we experience is we're trying to sit here, Randy, and we're talking to the salespeople, the marketing people, the folk with the money on the ad side about allocation, and then they want to send us a DEI person, and sometimes the DEI budget is so small, and I'm like, I'm not talking to you for about no $20,000 when I'm trying to get $2 million.
Right. Well, let me say this. You know, I talk a lot about, because of the lack of inclusion, how Black people feel the need to be the good Black, right? We have to be that Black person that white people feel comfortable around. And depending on how much you're able to kind of kill your inner self, how much you're willing to code switch, really does, if we're being honest, it really does dictate how high you can go up that corporate ladder. Because people like you and me that speak out make a lot of white people uncomfortable. right? So they will try to block us as much as
Oh, I
possible.
know
So
that.
when
I
you,
know that. Oh,
yeah, yeah,
Lord, I know that. Lord, they like, Roland, he too radical. He
right.
making us
We're
uncomfortable.
angry,
Well,
right? We're angry.
but damn it, if you're spending 1% of your budget on black-owned media, but we represent 30% of the people buying your product, well, guess what? I should make your ass uncomfortable.
Right. You know, asking for equal everything should not be a radical concept. But what you were saying is really accurate. Sometimes the DEI professional that gets hired, no offense to my colleagues, is the person who's really not down. They are the person that the white leaders knew that they could somewhat control. They are the person that they said, oh, we can give this person a good salary, a nice title, but we know they will do basically nothing. So that person is non-threatening
Yep.
to them. So that's the problem when you get
Yep.
these DEI people who are not making the moves that need to be made. To be in DEI, you have to be extremely courageous. And you have to care about it. You know, the reason why I got into it early was because I really give a damn. And some people don't. And we just got to be honest. What they care about is that title and that money.
Right. And let me say this here. I'm going to go to my panel next here because here's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with largely a black person who has never made 150, 200, 250, 300,000, maybe 350,000, maybe $400,000. And so they're thinking about their family, their kids going to private school. They're thinking about their livelihood.
I get it.
But the reality is you are in the position though to be a change agent. You are supposed to be in the position to say, how are we including things? And I'm gonna say this, Randy. And I just want to just let me know if you have to. I'm sick of these black DEI people who want to walk red carpets, accept awards, take photos, and only want to spend money with us while you're putting on an event where it's a table and they're bringing out tickets to their people. That ain't driving wealth building with black people. I want to know, what are you doing on the contract side? The DEI person to me should be on the inside of the company raising hell going, I'm sorry, what's the holdup? Why have we been talking to this person for a year or a year and a half and we haven't signed a contract? What's going on here? And so, to me, you should not be a safe DEI person. You are supposed to be driving the agenda forward to be able to grow and build. That's just how I look at it. Your thoughts?
No, you're absolutely right. And let me say this. The reason why people can't get anything done is they're not being honest about the fact that this is a country that was built on racism, right? And so DEI exists because we have to counteract the racist policies, the biased minds that we have running these companies. You know, people think DEI is this moral, altruistic area. It's not. It's really a division that is supposed to help right wrongs. Most people are going to hire people and promote different organizations that they feel comfortable with. Okay, the majority of CEOs and directors and vice presidents are white males, not because they're the most talented and highly qualified, but because they were hired by men just like them. And so we have to realize that we can't expect people to make these decisions to bring in the best talent or to advertise with the best fit for the black community. We have to recognize that they won't do it because it's not natural for them to do it. Our country has designed them, made their mindset not to do it. So DEI is supposed to come in and say, let me help you do what's right and what's smart. It's interesting to me that these companies think that they can get away with being so monocultural for so long when the world is changing and when they're making mistakes that can go viral in 5 minutes. This is not where you can do something wrong and just that town knows about it. It's a very small kept secret. Sesame Place, they made a mistake, not a mistake, it's more than a mistake. But I had people on my site on TikTok contacting me from places all over the world. So they will realize their reputation can be ruined very quickly and start giving power to their DEI departments. Because honestly, the strength of an organization, a company relies on.
And I'm going to say this here, and I want to get your thoughts on this before I go to my panel. So panel, get ready. What this also means, I'm going to need that black board member. And I'm going to need those black senior executives to lean the hell in. Because part of this problem, Randy, and again, I have dealt with this here. I have witnessed this here. When I see companies that are barely spending any money on black-owned media, on black contracts, and I see 1 or 2 black board members, I'm literally saying, "What the hell are you doing?
What are you doing?
How are you on the board not raising hell?" And then you got the safe senior exec, and again coming up with all the damn excuses. And I'm going, we fought for you to be there to advocate for black people, not to simply fatten your check and get the stock options.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this as a person who's been on the inside. One, they make it very difficult. They give black people titles within these companies, but they don't give them power. Just to these people's defense. But also, it becomes where if you really look at the stats, there's one of us in every company. That's kind of it. And people are scared because they want to remain that one. Like you said, they've gotten used to a certain lifestyle. They have certain bills. They've sent their kids to the best places, and they lose sight of the larger cause and really focus on themselves.
Questions for my panel. I will start first with Brianna.
Thank you so much for this conversation. It's definitely needed. My most pressing questions, because I have a lot, but the most pressing one is, if you feel that you're in a place that has the title, but you do not have the power to execute on what you think the title is, how do you suggest someone going about that? Should they quit? Is there different mechanisms that you encourage for one to take? What is your guidance in regards to that?
I would absolutely suggest that they write a document why it's important that this person report to the CEO, have a budget, and in that document they would show how some companies are doing it well, but really the ramifications if the DEI person is not given a level of power in the company, and present it to the president, whoever the highest person is, have a meeting with them. But I'm saying put that in writing. Put that absolutely in writing and state your cause. I find that there is a pressure now. I think CEOs are recognizing, even though they don't want to, and even though that unfortunately, because it's not a problem for them, they're not acting quickly. You have to show how not empowering DEI and its efforts is a problem for them. Show the lawsuits. Show what social media is saying. Show what's happened to your competition. And so you're saying, you may think that this doesn't affect you, but it does. So I would apply the pressure and go straight to the CEO directly.
Absolutely. Erica.
Hi, Randy. First, I want to say, love the look, and that photo behind you is absolutely stunning. My question, I love it. I love it.
That's Tutu.
Tutu?
I named him Tutu. I don't know his real name, but I've named him Tutu.
Tutu. I love it. I love it. Tutu. Well, Tutu is absolutely stunning. My question for you would be, when I think about diversity, equity, and inclusion, of course, race comes up, but because I am a person that now has a disability, that is something that definitely resonates with me foundationally. So I would like to know, within DE&I, what have you seen executed around shining light, highlighting, ensuring that there is diversity, equity, and inclusivity for people that have disabilities?
I've really seen a lot done when it comes to technology and ensuring that that technology software companies are creating products that can be used with any level of ableness, that I find just quite interesting. Of course, most of the time, anywhere you go should make it where anyone can access that area. That has not happened as quickly as it should, but there's been a lot of attention given to that, a lot of lawsuits that have come up because of that. So I have seen changes more actually quickly in that area than other areas. But yeah, it's absolutely important. When I talk about, I tell people I talk about DE&I from the perspective of a Black person, because that's who I am and that's what I most relate to, and that's my pain center. But of course, DE&I is about ensuring that everybody has a place and feels comfortable. You know, at first everyone went to, let's just hire a bunch of people, but they never considered how these people would feel and how they would be treated once they became hired. You know, just even now, every statistic shows that even once people from underrepresented groups are hired, we're not getting to the higher ranks.
Thank you.
Greg Carr.
Thank you, Roland, and thank you for inviting our sister here, Sister Randi. Thank you as well, and I echo what Erica said, that and the fact about that picture, and the fact that you named it Tutu. Among the Yoruba people, they would say Itutu. Itutu means cool or coolness, and one of those colors in coolness is blue. So it just works right. You got everything in the same vibe right there. The cool. I'm particularly grateful to Roland for asking you to have this conversation with us tonight, because, you know, as a college teacher, I see these young people, particularly at our Black colleges, coming in, particularly in schools of business, schools of communication, and as you say, particularly in the wake of this so-called racial reckoning. These schools are being descended upon by these companies who are claiming, we want your students to come in and join us and partner with us. And I look at it as just a 21st century vocational education. As you say, you're trying to stop, you keep your shares from melting, keep yourself on top. But do you have any words of wisdom or kind of insights to share with the deans of these schools of business, schools of communication, who are, you know, marketing this as a boon moment, particularly at HBCUs, but I'm not so sure about that. I'm thinking, you know, what should we be telling our students who are coming into these spaces, as if now this is the moment when their big break is coming, as these companies come in and in the name of DE&I are saying they're going to get these young people in this pipeline?
You know, we have been trained as a people to be grateful, and absolutely we should be grateful, but get what you deserve. Recognize that you are in a position of power. These companies do need qualified Black employees. Okay, so go in there and demand what you want. If they say, oh, we're going to offer you a summer internship, right? What else? What's the money? What is my guarantee of getting a job? How will you support me the following school year? Ask for what you want. What am I so? Can you, you know, I am always surprised at how the majority culture is always is comfortable asking for what they want and what they feel as if they deserve. And sometimes we are just so happy to say, oh, wow, I have a summer job at this big company. And I would say for these HBCUs, I have two sons that attend Hampton University right now. I would say to the career centers, I would say, what are you offering our students? No, actually, we would like this. Actually, for us to participate in your career fair, we want you to do A, B, C, and the third, not just for the entire school. You know, think about your power. I really like what Deion Sanders is doing, where he is saying, recognize your power and use it. So if yes, they need students, what do the students need from them? What do they want from them? How does the school get better, and how is that student's life actually enriched, not just for a summer, but for long term?
Excellent. Thank you.
Well, I'll say this, Randy, a final point. If it's one thing that also drives me crazy, I am sick of these fake diversity listings that awards top company and these CEOs, they strive to get the award, but then you look and go, well, what the hell did y'all actually do? Sometimes
Right.
I wonder what's the criteria, and I'll be honest. I think sometimes for some of these folks, it's a full page magazine. Like, how are you actually determining like what's the best company for diversity when I look at this deal? And this is what I've said to our civil rights groups. They should establish a race index. It should be,
Absolutely.
we're gonna grade you on board members, on senior execs, on junior execs, because I want to know who's in line to be the CEO. We're going to grade you on contracts. We're going to grade you on black-owned media. We're going to grade you. Are you using black transportation companies, black catering companies, black audio-visual companies, black photographers? Are you using those vendors? To me, you do that, but as long as we as black people keep handing these people awards, saying, oh, how Miss So-and-so, how great you are, and Mr. So-and-so, how great you are, because they gave somebody $10,000 for some damn table at a luncheon, that ain't helping black people.
Absolutely right. DE&I has become a PR move. Like I've said, it has become that. And people, if someone's willing to take those dollars and take that position, if they can be bought, it's going to work. And we have to, not allow it. It really is up to us. We really can demand so much more. And let me just say this.
That's what it is.
I was just going to say to the students and also to people who work in companies like Glassdoor, there are people who are keeping track of how underrepresented groups are treated. Ensure, instead of just going home and complaining to your friends or your spouse about how so-and-so doesn't treat you right or how you have not gotten a raise, go to Glassdoor, put the ratings on there, use your power, because I'm telling you, they care about how they're perceived. And so when you are trying to get leverage in the business world, you have to conduct in a language that they understand.
That's it. Simple as that. Randy, we certainly appreciate you joining us. Hopefully some folks learn something from this, and I really hope a lot of these companies will pay attention, because I just think too many of them, DEI is just completely BS in what they're doing.
I agree, but I think it's going to change. Just like people are posting videos like what happened at Sesame Place, we're not allowing it anymore.
All right. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks
All right, folks, that is it for us today. Let me thank you very much. Let me thank